So that's, I'd say, one big way that we're just focused on anti-displacement. But then I think a lot of our programming over the last few years has really shifted to be in support of wealth building and wealth retention for our residents.
Welcome to Pathbreakers, a podcast from the Kresge Foundation.
On each episode, we explore who has the power to shape a city. We're talking with change makers and city leaders who are tackling big problems in unexpected ways.
We'll learn more about the path-breaking work that they do, get into the nitty-gritty of how they get it done, and get some lessons from their playbook that you can implement in your own city. Hi, I'm Tracey Pearson, and I work on the communications team at the Kresge Foundation.
And I'm Jamie Bennett. I'm a consultant who works in art and equitable community development. And together, Tracey and I are your co-hosts for Pathbreakers.
So, Jamie, today we have a wonderful guest joining us. It's Caitlin Murphy, Executive Director at the Live6 Alliance in Northwest Detroit.
Yep, Live6 works at the Livernois McNichols neighborhood, which is right at 6 Mile. They care a lot about community development and economic opportunity, and they sort of serve Live6 as sort of the connector of the neighborhood. They convene and coordinate all of the institutions, stakeholders, residents who can help make big changes happen.
I love the Live6 Alliance because they do so many things, but specifically because they work with longtime residents as well. They are showing that development is possible without displacement, which is so important, and they work to ensure that Detroit's comeback doesn't just serve the people who are new, but also serves the people who never left.
Yeah, and this is a particularly big year for Caitlin and her colleagues. Live6 just turned 10 years old. One of the main thoroughfares in the neighborhood was recently designated a Michigan Main Street, and they're about to launch 2 new resident investment programs that we're going to get to hear a little bit more about.
Not just that, they also will be welcoming a new neighbor soon by way of the Kresge Foundation. As you know, we are moving our headquarters to the area. We will be not just neighbors, but we'll be continuing to be partners.
That's awesome. So with that, let's welcome Caitlin. Caitlin, how are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great day to be on 6 Mile and happy to be joining you for this conversation today.
That's awesome. And for folks who don't know Detroit super well, can you just tell us where 6 Mile is, sort of orient us to where you're sitting in the city of Detroit?
So we are in Northwest Detroit, about 9 miles north of the downtown and midtown central core. 2 miles north of us is the 8-mile border, which separates Detroit from not only our adjacent suburban communities, but also it's a county line. So we are in Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, in the northwest side.
So I want to talk about Livernois McNichols neighborhood, but also how you sort of tie into the area. Your family has been there for 3 generations. How do you describe this area when you're talking about it to people who haven't been before?
This neighborhood for us, we always describe it as one of the densest, most historically rich neighborhoods we believe within the city. It is a district comprised of multiple neighborhoods that sort of all have their unique identity and character about them, but it's all defined by being one of our city's largest civically engaged neighborhoods. We have one of the largest voting pools and voter populations within our community. We have 2 anchor institutions, the University of Detroit Mercy and the Marygrove Conservancy and Campus, which has a rich legacy. And there's been tons of history that has taken place throughout our neighborhoods. I would say as early as the 1920s when a lot of the homes were first built.
And Caitlin, talk to us a little bit about that sort of Main Street designation, right? There's a central corridor in the neighborhood that's been designated a Main Street, a sort of central business district. But 10 years ago, it didn't look all that bustling. I think there was something like a 10% occupancy rate. Can you just talk to us about that corridor? Tell us about the history before 2016 and then what you all have been doing in the sort of last 10 years.
Livernois is historically our avenue of fashion, and it contains a large density and a large assemblage of Black-owned businesses to this day. And so, depending on who you're talking to, some say that it's the largest assemblage of Black-owned businesses within our city. Some say the state, and I've even heard some people say within the
Wow.
country. So there's over 120 businesses on Livernois, and the Avenue of Fashion has a lot of legacy leadership. There's a number of robust business associations
Mm.
that really have been driving a lot of the coordination, investment, and stewardship of the Avenue of Fashion. Our organization wanted to really focus on West McNichols as a connector to the Avenue of
Mhm.
Fashion. And so that's why so much of our work has really been focused and aligned around West McNichols and the part of Livernois that's just south of the Ave. We recognize that, there's been investment, there's been leadership, and so how can we sort of steward and coordinate activities to really build momentum that works in congruence with one another, right? So Livernois has its own unique identity, and we're now formulating an identity or kind of coordinating a bunch of partners, players, business owners, residents to develop that identity for West McNichols.
What does it mean that West McNichols has been designated a main street? What does that mean? What comes with that? Why is that exciting?
We are the third designated Main Street in the city of Detroit. And what that means is that we have now a 5-year partnership with the state of Michigan, with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And we've developed a set of goals and outcomes that we'll really be working towards for the next 5 years. We've also developed out sort of a shared governance model for advancing this work. And so we have a Main Street Executive Committee, but then there are other committees that are essentially formed around the Main Street 4-point approach, it's called. And we all sort of follow the same approach, which is investing into the organizational sort of development and approach to it, which is governance, economic vitality, which is the real estate side, the small business curation side, promotion, so promoting our district as unique and as a destination. And then there's a design
Mhm.
element. So that's really designing the public realm. So that could be facades, street pole banners, holiday lights, really designing the infrastructure of the public realm on the main street to be a place that is accommodating to shoppers.
That all sounds amazing. And I think that it is warranted and needed, especially when you think about what that area contributes to the city overall. But there might be some residents who want to bring the question up of, well, all of this investment is coming to this area. Will I be displaced as a result of that? And I would love to hear how your team thinks about anti-displacement as all of this investment is going on.
That's a great question and something that our team does not take lightly,
Mhm.
and we're really working on a daily basis. I would say just from the onset, the way that the Live6 Alliance team has been developed and has been really building capacity, it includes residents of our community. And
Mhm.
so of our growing team of 11, 75% of our team are all either living in the neighborhood
Wow.
currently or were like born and raised within the
Wow.
community. So I would say that that's just a statistic that we're very proud of, that we have been intentional about our hiring and sort of our community and sort of culture building at Live6 and ensuring that it's really rooted in this
Mhm.
place, but also that it's very intergenerational. So we have ambassadors on our team that are legacy residents who have lived within the community decades,
Mhm.
longer than some of us have been alive. And then we have some younger members of our team who have been building their careers alongside Live6 and being a part of it. So I think it's, not just investing in our own and kind of growing our own into community builders and community and economic developers, but also bridging the generational gap that we have a lot of legacy leaders, and we're also working on maintaining their legacy
Mhm.
while growing the next generation as well. So that's, I'd say, one big way that we're just focused on anti-displacement. But then I think a lot of our programming over the last few years has really shifted to be in support of wealth building and wealth retention for our residents. And so with the support of the Kresge Foundation, last year we announced that we are launching our Resident Investment and Opportunity Fund. And that really looks at three kind of categories, as we've called it. So we have our fixes, our keeps, and our pathways. And so fixes really is looking at enhancements to real property and land. So whether it's home repair and assisting residents with those critical home needs that sometimes go deferred. And so on an annual basis now, we are deploying about $500,000 just in home repair.
Wow.
And then we're also supporting residents with purchasing side lots and stewarding side lots, hopefully increasing familial wealth by, purchasing additional side lots and bringing them up to the local market and sort of allowing folks to grow along with the market as it appreciates. On the keep side of the work, when we have gotten really into our home repair programs, we learned that the two biggest barriers that were preventing a lot of senior residents and longtime residents from accessing critical home repair was issues of tax sort of debt and tax issues, back taxes essentially, and then also issues of tangled title. So we have an heirs property component where we are working with residents who may be living in an heirs property. And an heirs property is a home where the owner of record is deceased.
So we're talking multi-generation family living in a home. Grandpapa might pass away, but there was never an official record of them leaving the home to that child or grandchild.
Correct. Yep. And so then we are now working with those residents and helping them go through the probate process in a lot of cases, or go through the process of obtaining free legal aid so that they can receive the rightful ownership in their name, and then benefit from all of the benefits that being a homeowner has in America. And then on the pathway side, we know that there's a desire for homeownership. And so there's a side of the work where we're focusing on developing new housing stock so that, there's the ability for people who may be renting within our neighborhood to stay but benefit as a homeowner. And then there's also potential rental subsidies that we would like to offer to residents, and also ensure that when new apartments come online, because we have within our pipeline currently about 100 new units of apartments that are coming on between West McNichols and between Livernois, that they are prioritized not just affordable, but also for those that may already be living or working within our neighborhood.
A lot of this, we're dealing with people's legacies here, their family homes. There's a saying, if you can keep the family in the home, you can keep the home in the family. And so I want to talk about this element of trust that goes into the work that you all do. How does it shape the way you all actually sort of engage with residents and because we're dealing with delicate information, we're dealing with family histories. Like what does that play into how you all work with residents?
Absolutely. It's delicate and it takes a lot of time. I think sometimes more time than we like to think or than we sometimes hope. But I think with Live6 specifically, just by nature of where we're located, our office that I'm at currently, it's our, co-working space, but it's also a sort of de facto walk-in, drop-in community center where residents and neighbors can come by really Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and then oftentimes evenings and weekends, for special activities, and ask us a bunch of questions. And so we know that there's, certain certain residents that have been interested in this program, and they haven't enrolled yet because they're just not at that point yet where they want to your point, Tracey, give us, all of their personal information. But we're here and we're, walking them through the process. We're trying to be as transparent
Mm-hmm.
as possible. We take, data consent very, very seriously. We're also a tech hub of the city of Detroit. And so that's something that our team has found. Chanel on our team is been the primary point of contact for a lot of residents, and she lives in our neighborhood, and I would say is very skilled at talking to residents, meeting them where they are, whether it's starting the conversation first at their porch, at their kitchen
Mm-hmm.
table, going to their home, whether it's inviting them here, scanning documents for them, helping to archive not just these types of legal documents, but we've also scanned family photos over the years, helped to just organize information that is for the resident first and foremost, right? And then what they want to give and share with us to enroll in any of these programs kind of comes second. And so I would say that's just a really small example,
Mm-hmm.
but our team really takes an approach of taking it kind of one day at a time, and people are very honest with us. They tell us when they don't like certain things that we're doing, and we have the ability to iterate and kind of pivot. So I think we've heard it all over the years,
Sounds right.
good, bad, ugly, and we do, we listen and we try to adjust accordingly. We've learned, we can't be everything to everyone, or else that just will create, a watered down situation. But I think leading with transparency, accountability, doing what we're saying that we're going to do has gotten us a long ways with maintaining trust after we've built it.
And Caitlin, we had said at the beginning that 10 years ago there was like a 90% vacancy rate of the businesses on McNichols. Today
Wild.
we've got enough there that people are at least spending 30 minutes of their day shopping, walking, doing all of that. Can you project ahead, think about 2036? We'll have I don't know what iPhone will be on in 2036. But if I was walking with you down McNichols 10 years from now, what's your hope? What do you think I'd see? What's going on the street?
Yeah, I think we would have more businesses. So I think our goal is to reduce vacancy. I think right now we're at about 75% vacancy. We would love to see that closer to 60%. So investing in new commercial developments, but also investing in our neighbors to be the ones that open up shops and open up businesses within these new commercial developments. Over the last 10 years, we've been really focused on supporting existing businesses, business retention, and supporting new businesses that are coming, online, neighbors that maybe bought a property and have opened up their own shop. But I think as like I said, some of these new commercial developments come online, we're going to be looking more at business attraction, and we're being very intentional about incubating local entrepreneurs and local talent. So I think, we would see a corridor that is less vacant, more Black owned businesses. And then I think another indicator of success for us would look like our student populations really coming off campus and being a part of the local Main Street shopping ecosystem. We have the University of Detroit Mercy, but we also have on Marygrove's campus students who are in early childhood education. So, I don't know that they'll be coming under the corridor,
Not on their own, not on their own.
but their parents, their parents. So we'd love to make sure that there's family friendly activities, family friendly shopping, and that there's a number of spaces that are accommodating to like our teenagers, right? We have a lot of middle schoolers, a lot of high schoolers on campus that we know walk to school, and we've heard that there's not really a place for them to go,
Yeah.
right? There's some green spaces, there's some parks, but we would love it if there could be more on the commercial strip that was geared towards our younger age group. So I think we would see, an intergenerational main street that's anchored by Black-owned businesses.
What is it? We talked a little bit about this, but entrepreneurship and the idea of someone starting a business in one of these corridors, as someone who has a rich history, a family legacy, even of entrepreneurship, what is it like for you to be a real steward of what's going on in terms of entrepreneurship and people opening businesses and leaving business legacies?
Absolutely. So, over the years, our organization has hosted dozens and dozens of kind of seasonal markets, pop-ups, vendor fairs,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And we're very excited because for the last really 2.5 years, we've been working to develop out the space just next to our office, 7434 West McNichols, which will become Shops on Six. And Shops on Six has been a very intentional project for us because it provides a low barrier to entry for a lot of our emerging entrepreneurs. We have so many artistic makers,
Yep.
we have so many product brands, but we know that a lot of our entrepreneurs have, full-time jobs
Yes.
or
Mm-hmm.
full-time obligations if it's family, school, etc. And so occupying a full retail space right now is maybe not feasible
Mm-hmm.
for them. And so within Shops on Six, our goal is that we will incubate 40 home and web-based entrepreneurs. So our model is that they can rent a shelf from us or kind of a stall, in
Mm-hmm.
some cases, we'll have anchor brands that'll have more than just a shelf. But they are able to really test their product to the local market with a very low barrier to entry, right? So we're talking about $25 a month. You can have your product within our space, benefit from kind of the overarching brand and identity of Shops on Six that we've developed with the community. So we know that the product mix and sort of offering is going to be reflective of what residents want to purchase. And then our goal, what success would look like for us, is if we could get this successfully launched this summer, but then if certain businesses could grow and take on other spaces on the corridor as they come online. So I think we've been trying to figure out how do we really right size retail. So we're going to be investing in things like e-commerce, sort of building out folks' digital footprint,
Wow.
and then hopefully investing them in kind of some space planning and like smaller size spaces, right? That can be easier for a business to take on just from like a merchandising, staffing, and operational standpoint.
This is largely uncharted territory for many people that live in the area, that are doing business in the area, path breaking, if you will. I couldn't help myself. And part of what we're talking about this season is a playbook of advice, of learnings. And Jamie and I have been gathering words of wisdom for other change makers out there about how to make big things happen and how to sustain that work. So I'd love to hear from you a piece of advice that someone gave you along the way that you find yourself leaning into and living by in the work that you do now.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it ties to the question that Jamie had earlier about, how we can't be everything to
Mhm.
everyone, or else, there's only so many hours in a day, so many days in a week.
It's only 11 of y'all, too.
Right. There's only 11 of us. And so, actually, Alexa Bush, who is with the Kresge Foundation, I've worked with her really over the last 10
Wow.
years,
Mhm.
and I always remember her and another woman, Shelby Howard. We had a conversation, which was, saying that within this work, we're also tempted to bring like everyone along with us. We hear everyone's stories, and
Mhm.
we want to work with as many residents as possible. We want to support as many businesses as possible, but we are remember Alexa and Shelby telling me that if we just each pick like 7 people, right? There's 7 residents or partners, staff, coworkers, that we spend a good majority of our time kind of bringing along with us, right? Upskilling, helping them to build their capacity. And then that 7, brings on another 7, then we could have the ability to really have a ripple effect. And it doesn't even have to be people, but like projects or places that you really go all in with, and then encourage others to pick their 7, points of interest. And I think that that's a very good way to kind of build our spheres of influence during this time and place, and hopefully have like a ripple effect across the local ecosystem and network.
I love that. And 7's such a magical number. So I love everything about that. And what about, that's great advice that you got from folks, but paying it forward. If someone wants to grow up and be the next Caitlin Murphy and have a deep commitment to the people of a place and help improve that, what advice do you have for the next Caitlin Murphy?
I think really focusing on like projects and programs that bring people together across differences, whether those differences are real or perceived, is deeply critical to this work. I think we talk a lot about, through our partners at Reimagining the Civic Commons, like socioeconomic mixing, and I think it took me honestly a good 3 or 4 years to understand what socioeconomic mixing even meant. But now we're at the point where we really, I think, understand it and embed it within a lot of our programmatic work. And so for us, that means, bringing people together across, whether it's like racial lines, class lines, generational lines, that there's something really rich within connecting people across difference and areas of perception is huge. I think it's easy for us to reach out to people who are similar to ourselves for like comfort, solace, etc. But there's actual more to learn, or the ability to kind of like break through some of these social harms that are crippling our communities when we can reach out like across those differences. So I would say don't be afraid to include people that you may not normally want to reach out to, because there's a lot that can be learned, I think, on all sides of the equation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Caitlin, for the wisdom that you have shared with us, for the advice that you have shared. There are so many exciting things taking place in the neighborhood, and you all are being an amazing catalyst and partner and getting it done. So we want to thank you for your time. If people want to get involved in the Live6 work, where can we point them to?
Yep, I would say to visit us on our website at live6detroit.org, or follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. That is where we post a lot of our events and activations and information about our different programs that we offer.
Awesome. And we will link all of those in the show notes. What can listeners do to support the Livernois McNichols neighborhood?
Yeah, I would say come shop with one of our local business owners. Yeah, there's a ton of restaurants, boutiques, lounges, places to go. We would love to see more of you on West McNichols, 6 Mile in Livernois.
Pathbreakers is produced by the Kresge Foundation. Founded in 1924 with the mission to promote human progress, Kresge today works to expand equity and opportunity in America's cities.
Learn about our grant-making and social investing work in Detroit, Memphis, New Orleans, Fresno, and cities across the U.S. at kresge.org. To hear more stories from the Pathbreakers, be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Our producer, as always, is Juliette Heinley. Managing editor is Krista Yankee, with huge help from her Kresge colleagues, Maria DiLorenzo, Kate McLaughlin, Jordan Duckins, and of course, the one and only Tracey Pearson. The show art is by Alejandro Herrera. Logo animation by Colin Likes. Our social media mastermind is David Carrick.
And a special thank you on this episode to Kresge's Detroit program, including Wendy Lewis Jackson and Jonathan Way. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.